You're looking at the oldest country in the world that has existed for thousands of years. But what is life like today? Ancient Egypt was one of the longest-lasting civilizations in history. It survived for over 3,000 years and left behind some impressive monuments. The pyramids are one of the most recognizable symbols of ancient Egypt. These giant structures were built as tombs for the pharaohs and their families. The largest pyramid, the Great Pyramid of Giza, is over 450 feet tall and contains over 2 million stone blocks. But there is so much more to learn about this fascinating civilization. To truly understand ancient Egypt, we need to go back to the very beginning. Let's begin with the pre-dynastic period. This was the time before Egypt had a unified government or a pharaoh. Instead, the land was ruled by nomarchs, or local governors. Despite this lack of unity, the Egyptians developed a unique culture during this period. They created beautiful works of art, including some of the earliest known examples of writing. The pre-dynastic period came to an end around 3100 BC when King Minos I united Upper and Lower Egypt. He is considered the first pharaoh of a new kingdom, which would come to be known as the Old Kingdom. The Old Kingdom was a time of great prosperity for Egypt. The pharaohs were seen as gods on earth, and they ruled over a wealthy and powerful state. They built massive temples and monuments, including the first pyramids. However, the Old Kingdom did not last forever. Towards the end of this period, the central authority became weaker, and Egypt descended into chaos. Nomarchs once again seized control, and the country split into several small states. But soon a new power emerged in Egypt. In 2686 BC, King Tutankhamun reunited Egypt and ushered in a new era known as the Middle Kingdom. During this time, Egypt enjoyed another golden age. Trade flourished, and the Egyptian people lived in relative peace and prosperity. However, like the Old Kingdom, the Middle Kingdom did not last forever. Around 2055 BC, Egypt was once again thrown into turmoil. A new group of foreigners had invaded the country and established their own dynasty. They were known as the Hyksos, and they ruled over Egypt for almost a century. However, in 1971 BC, Egypt was freed from foreign rule when a general named Ahmose I drove the Hyksos out of the country. This event marked the beginning of a new kingdom known as the New Kingdom. The New Kingdom was a time of great expansion for Egypt. The Egyptian pharaohs became true rulers of the known world. They conquered Nubia in the south and Syria in the north. They also waged war with the Hittites and the Assyrians. During this time, Egypt became a true superpower. Perhaps the most famous pharaoh of the New Kingdom was Ramses II. He was a great warrior, and he led Egypt to many victories. He also built many temples and monuments in his own image. However, the New Kingdom eventually came to an end as well. Around 1157 BC, Egypt was once again plunged into chaos. This time it was the Libyans who invaded the country and established their own dynasty. This period is known as the Third Intermediate Period. For the next few centuries, Egypt was ruled by a succession of foreign powers. The Assyrians, the Babylonians, the Persians, and the Greeks all tried to conquer Egypt, but none of them succeeded. Finally, in 332 BC, Alexander the Great invaded Egypt. He founded the city of Alexandria and made it the capital of his empire. After Alexander's death, Egypt came under the rule of the Ptolemies. They were a Greek dynasty, but they allowed the Egyptian people to keep their religion and customs. Egypt became a part of the Hellenistic world, and this led to a cultural exchange between Egypt and Greece. During the Hellenistic period, Egypt was home to some of the greatest scientific minds in the world. One of the most famous Egyptian scientists was Euclid, the mathematician who developed the rules of geometry. Another famous scientist was Archimedes, who made important discoveries in physics and engineering. But Egypt's golden age would not last forever. In 30 BC, Egypt was conquered by the Roman Empire. This marked the end of ancient Egypt. Ancient Egypt was a time of great achievement and innovation. The Egyptians developed many technologies that are still used today, such as paper, toothpaste, and concrete. They also made important contributions to mathematics, astronomy, and medicine. One of the most impressive things about ancient Egypt is its art. The Egyptians were master sculptors and architects. They created some of the most beautiful works of art in history, including the Great Sphinx of Giza. The Sphinx is a monumental statue with the body of a lion and the head of a pharaoh. It is over 240 feet long and is one of the most famous monuments in the world. Religion played a major role in ancient Egyptian society. The Egyptians believed that the pharaoh was a god, and they worshipped a pantheon of gods and goddesses. Some of the most important gods in Egyptian mythology are Ra, the sun god, Osiris, the god of the underworld, and Anubis, the god of the dead. The Egyptians believed that when someone died, their soul would go on a journey through the underworld. If the soul was pure, it would be allowed to enter the field of reeds, a paradise where the dead could live in peace. However, if the soul was impure, it would be sent to the house of the scorpion, a place of torment where the dead would be tortured for eternity. To avoid this fate, the Egyptians mummified their dead and buried them with their possessions. They believed that this would help the soul on its journey through the underworld. The Egyptian language is one of the oldest languages in the world. It is a complex language with a hieroglyphic writing system. Hieroglyphics were written on papyrus, a type of paper made from the papyrus plant. The Egyptians also developed a system of numerals, but they did not have a symbol for zero. This made it difficult for them to perform certain mathematical calculations. Despite this setback, the Egyptians were able to make some impressive scientific discoveries. They developed a calendar that was surprisingly accurate, and they made significant advances in astronomy. The Egyptians also developed a system of medicine that was based on observation and experience. They were able to treat many different ailments, including broken bones, wounds, and even some mental disorders. The Nile River was essential to the development of Egyptian civilization. The Nile River provided the Egyptians with water for drinking and irrigation. It also provided them with a way to transport goods and people. The annual flooding of the Nile River brought fresh water and silt to the fields, making them very fertile. This made Egypt one of the best places in the world to grow crops. The Egyptians kept many different types of animals, including dogs, cats, cows, and chickens. They domesticated these animals for a variety of purposes, including food, clothing, and companionship. The Egyptians kept pet cats, which they kept as companions, and to catch mice. They also kept pet dogs, which they used for hunting and guarding. The Egyptians believed that animals could be reincarnated, so they often mummified their pets along with their owners. Ancient Egypt was a patriarchal society, meaning that men had more rights and privileges than women. However, women did have some rights. They could own property, and they could also divorce their husbands. Women were also allowed to work in certain professions, such as medicine and beauty. The Egyptians believed that the pharaoh was chosen by the gods to rule over Egypt. The pharaoh was considered a god on earth, and he was believed to be the intermediary between the gods and the people. The pharaoh was responsible for maintaining order in Egypt, and he was also responsible for protecting the country from invaders. Pharaoh Akhenaten is one of the most controversial figures in ancient Egyptian history. He was a radical pharaoh who changed the religion of Egypt. He introduced a new god, Aten, and he made Atenism the official religion of Egypt. This caused a lot of tension with the old gods and goddesses of Egypt, and it led to a civil war. Akhenaten's son, Tutankhamun, eventually restored the old religion and reversed many of his father's reforms. After the death of Tutankhamun, Egypt was ruled by a woman named Nefertiti. She was the wife of Pharaoh Akhenaten, and she played an important role in the worship of Aten. However, she disappeared near the end of Akhenaten's reign, and not much is known about her later life. Some historians believe that she was executed after Akhenaten's death, while others believe that she simply retired from public life. Ancient Egypt was a time of great innovation and achievement. The Egyptians developed many technologies that are still used today, and they made important contributions to science, art, and architecture. Their achievements include the construction of the pyramids, the invention of paper and toothpaste, and the development of a sophisticated system of writing. The legacy of ancient Egypt continues to inspire people around the world, and their achievements are a testament to the ingenuity and creativity of the human spirit. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.